Hey, Progressive Dairy Podcast listeners. It's production editor Frederick Ridenauer. Thanks for tuning in. This episode is a special sponsor cast. Today's episode is sponsored by Dairy Data Warehouse, who has paid to promote this episode on our channel. Please be aware that the views and opinions expressed are those of the guests and Dairy Data Warehouse. They do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff and owners of Progressive Dairy. We hope you enjoy this bonus material. Hello, everyone. Joining me today is Armin Pern with Dairy Data Warehouse. Armin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Frederick. Thanks for having me.
Armin, why don't you tell our listeners your background and what you do for Dairy Data Warehouse?
Sure. I'm by training a veterinarian. I studied a long time ago in Munich, in Germany. And then I worked mainly in dairy. Then I had a stint in pharma. And now I'm working exclusively with the dairy data. And I'm now leading the data science team at Dairy Data Warehouse.
You know, AI and big data have been transforming other industries for years. Why do you think we're only now starting to see them being used in the dairy value chain?
Yeah, indeed, that is a shame that agriculture has been very slow in adopting the technology compared to retail, banking. Um, People were faster there to jump on the train there. One of the reasons I think is data access. That remained for a long time a big barrier. Different software systems, so it's not that there is a lack of data. In fact, particularly dairy farms, they're awash with data, but usually they are in a silo on farm, and they are useful there for the farmer and maybe an advisor looking at that data on farm. But if you want to do things like benchmarking, compare data, or use that data for AI, you usually need the data in the cloud in a standardized format. You need to clean the data. So there are various things you need to do in the cloud to the data. And for that, you need those farms connected to the cloud, a pipeline in place, a structure in place. So someone had to come along and break those silos. And Dairy Data Warehouse is one of those companies, not the only one, but it is one of those. We started that process probably now about 13, 14 years ago. And now we have a system in place to do that. Also, another barrier would be that software systems, herd management software that's used on farm, is designed exactly for that purpose, and it does that very well. So it helps you on a day-to-day basis to manage your herd, enter events, and so on. However, it's not structured to be stored in a large warehouse and to answer more pertinent question a consultant may ask. For instance, what is the calving interval in my top percentile of my top performing herds, for instance? Things like that, that's very difficult to do. Also, in terms of data quality, on a local farm, it might not matter if you forget to enter a leave event for an animal. And the local software may not even have a mechanism in place to prevent that. You may also be able to enter a calving event after 3 months, after the last calving. All of these things don't matter as much locally on farm, but if you want to train models and run models, AI models in production, that's a big problem. So it's data silos and the software on farm often not providing then data quality that is sufficient to run AI models.
So, what drives Dairy Data Warehouse's work in applying data and AI to support the dairy industry?
I think one of the big things that has changed over the last few years is a big push on productivity. And whilst that has always been important to for the dairy farmer to have an optimum economic performance, that has become even more important now as sustainability and the environmental footprint of a farm becomes more and more important. And that at the end it can only be solved using optimization models supported by AI. There are so many flying pieces on a dairy farm. Farmers and their consultants need to consider that AI is a perfect match for that problem. So it's sustainability and also productivity, in the sense that the dairy industry, together with the rest of agriculture, is asked to feed more people on the planet with ideally a lower environmental footprint. And so that, I think, fits very well to what we said initially. Data is very important for that, but also data in good quality. So it's also a shift for the dairy industry to put more importance on data collection, data entry, data quality, and now that's where Dairy Data Warehouse comes into place. We help getting the data from the farm into the cloud, and in the cloud, then we can help cleaning the data, improving data quality, or if that's not possible, at least flagging to the users of the data that there is potentially a data quality problem. So data and AI is, I think, the only way forward to achieve the sustainability and the productivity challenge the dairy industry is facing today. And I guess we are not the only industry. That is true also for many other industries that hope that AI can help them forward.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. How does Dairy Data Warehouse access dairy farm data? And what steps do you take to turn that raw information into AI-powered insights your clients, can actually use?
First of all, we try to make it as simple as possible to bring that data from the farm into the cloud, and to facilitate the farmer being able to provide access rights to a third party, such as their veterinarian or feed advisor or genetic advisor. And so for that, we have created a plug-and-play platform. It's called HerdNet. And that, once the connection has been established and the farmer has granted access to their respective consultant, then automatically the data is collected from that farm and shipped to the cloud. And from there, the advisor can then access the data. So that's everything that's around data access, data flow. So we facilitate that on a global scale, regardless whether the farm is in Europe, North America, South America, or on the other side of the globe in Australia. Or so even there are some farms in India and China. So we have a plug-and-play system in place that lets the data flow easily from the farm to the cloud. We break those silos. And at the same time, we make it easy for third parties who want to access the farm data to stay within the local rules and regulations. So some of those countries I mentioned, they have very particular data security rules. Europe has a specific regulations, the States and other parts of the world, of course, as well. So we make sure that we respect those local legal regulations and stay within them. And last but not least, it's the data consistency. So when the data comes to us, we have technology in place that scans the data for inconsistencies. Some examples I mentioned, right? Too short calving intervals, in implausible dry-off periods of 5 or 6 months. They can happen, but they're implausible. So there's a large range of tooling in place to identify those, and some of those we can even autocorrect. And also AI, of course, helps us here. And with those three things, data access via HerdNet, making sure we are compliant and everyone who's using our platform is compliant, and then the data consistency, data quality. Once those three things are in place, only then can we think about feeding that data into AI models firstly, we need to train them, of course, those models. And then secondly, then these models need to run in production. Once they run in production, what I just mentioned, that needs to happen every day, every time we receive data afresh. And so we need to every time scan the new data and then make them ready to be processed through AI. So there is a bit of blood, sweat, and tears on the way. However, it is worth the effort because now, particularly with AI, we can benefit of not only predictions, so taking the focus away from just looking at what has broken in the past, looking at historic data. Now we can look forward, and also the models. So that would be, for instance, predicting milk yield, predicting inventory, predicting disease. So these would be classic prediction models, but then of course also now we can use prescription models. So these would be that would be tooling that actually not only tells you what's likely to happen, but also what might make the most sense given your strategic orientation on your dairy farm. So it might, for instance, recommend put this cow on Statosparen rather than inseminating her. Inseminate her with a beef semen because you don't need to create a replacement animal. So that would be some examples for prescriptions. So in a nutshell, we need to get the data ready all the way from the farm into the cloud for the use for AI. But now that is pretty simple, and really every dairy farmer on the planet who runs a software on their farm, and well, that would be the majority of commercial dairy farms, at least in Northern America and Western Europe, and then the rest of the world, it's maybe a bit less frequent. But those farms all, there's no the single farmer wouldn't be able to now tap into AI and that technology.
Well, Armin, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. If our listeners have any other questions about Dairy Data Warehouse or HerdNet, where can they go to get the answers?
So we have, of course, a website, www.dairydatawarehouse.com. There is an FAQ section and, of course, also plenty of information. And there is also the possibility to get in touch. Everything that is around data science and the artificial intelligence in particular, that will make its way to me, and then my team and I will be delighted to respond. I just wanted to encourage dairy farmers to make use of the data they have on farm to a larger extent. So they put a lot of effort into collecting health events, entering inseminations and leave events into their software. So there's a lot of hours and resource that goes into that. And the return on that investment can be a multiple higher now using the latest technology. That is, think of LLMs now. Everyone is talking about ChatGPT. It's the same story. And that is also a technology we are using on the dairy data now. So these are all powerful tools. It will be a competitive disadvantage for the farmers who don't use them because their colleagues will. That's true for you and me and also for dairy farms. So better ride the wave rather than being washed away by it.